you in a good place now in your life?
Depends on when you ask me whether or not it's a good place.
Are you happy?
It depends. Asking right now? No, not particularly.
So he was concerned as to his viability.
Did he struggle with the idea of coming out publicly? Was that something that you talked about at all?
But he wasn't going to come out and say this to the world. And he had a lot of lady fans, and he told me that he just didn't want to upset the world.
Yeah, my friend Luther was gay.
Hey folks, ever wondered about the hidden truth behind Hollywood? Well, hold on to your hats because we've got a real shocker for you. You see, there's this rumor, more like a whisper in the wind, about a dark secret that none other than Luther Vandross took with him to the grave. Yeah, you heard that right. The legendary Luther Vandross, the soulful crooner himself, has a secret tangled up with the glitz and glam of Hollywood.
Did he struggle with the idea of coming out publicly? Was that something that you talked about at all?
Now, we're not talking about your run-of-the-mill gossip here. This is where it gets interesting, folks. We're diving deep into the heart of Hollywood, peeling back the layers to uncover the truth behind the curtain. And trust me, it's juicier than a ripe watermelon on a hot summer's day. And trust me, you won't want to miss this. Now, Luther Vandross Jr. had a life that sang out like a smooth melody from the streets of New York City. Born in 1951, he grew up in Manhattan, where his dad sang tunes and his mom cared for folks as a nurse. Luther was a natural on the keys, tinkling away on the piano from a young age. But when he was just 8, his dad passed due to diabetes, leaving a void in his heart. In 2003, Luther poured his heart into a song called Dance with My Father, a sweet tribute to his old man and the good times they shared. Memories of their home echoed in the melody.
If I could get another chance to dance with my father again.
The family packed their bags for the Bronx when Luther was 9. His sisters, Pat and Ann, were his concert buddies, taking him to see stars like Dionne Warwick and Aretha Franklin. These shows lit up Luther's world with dreams of his own in the spotlight. High school days in the Bronx came to an end in '69 for Luther. He dipped his toes into college waters, but decided to dive into music instead. While in high school, he founded the first Patti LaBelle fan club and even rocked the stage at the Apollo Theater with a group called Shades of Jade. Luther wasn't shy about sharing his gift. He strutted his stuff at the Apollo's amateur nights and got involved in tunes like Only Love Can Make a Better World and Listen My Brother, performing in front of huge crowds at the Harlem Cultural Festival. Now let's talk about Luther's big break. Picture this. In '72, Luther sprinkled his magic on tunes by Roberta Flack and Donny Hathaway. That was just the beginning. He lent his velvety voice to Dolores Hall's album and even teamed up with superstar David Bowie to cook up the hit Fascination. Can you believe it? Luther was hitting the stage with Bowie, singing his heart out as a backup. But Luther wasn't just a backup singer. He rubbed shoulders with legends like Chaka Khan, Diana Ross, and Ringo Starr, lending his smooth vocals to their tunes. He was everywhere, spreading his musical magic. Before Luther became a solo sensation, he joined a group called Luther in the late '70s. They dropped some groovy tracks, but success didn't quite knock on their door. When the record label gave Luther the boot, he said, "No way," and snatched those albums back. And guess what? They're making a comeback in 2024. But hold on to your hats because Luther wasn't just about singing for the stars. He made waves in commercials too, crooning catchy tunes for brands like Mountain Dew and Burger King. Imagine hearing Luther's voice while chomping down on a burger or sipping soda. His golden voice also jazzed up disco hits and added flair to Quincy Jones's tunes. Luther's career soared when he teamed up with Change, belting out hits like The Glow of Love and Searching. He said, "The Glow of Love was the most beautiful song he ever sang." Despite Luther's success, he had his moments. He turned down an offer to perform with Change for more cash and jumped into a solo career with Epic Records. His debut album, Never Too Much, was a smash hit, with the title track hitting #1 on the R&B charts. Vandross dropped some serious singles that climbed all the way to the top of the Billboard R&B charts. Stop to Love and a duet called There's Nothing Better Than Love with Gregory Hines were just two of his chart toppers. But Vandross wasn't just making music for himself. He was a big deal behind the scenes, too. He produced Aretha Franklin's comeback album Jump to It, which was a massive success. Then, there was his collab with Dionne Warwick. Vandross didn't just produce her album. He wrote songs for it and even sang on it. One of their duets, How Many Times Can We Say Goodbye, was a hit on the charts. And let's not forget his work with Diana Ross. He wrote and produced a song called It's Hard for Me to Say, which Ross performed on the Oprah Winfrey Show. It was a big deal, but behind the scenes, there was a secret swirling around like gossip at a backyard barbecue, his S. Yep, rumors had it that Luther might be gay, and folks couldn't stop whispering about it. Even Gene Davis, who worked with Luther, spilled the tea, saying everybody in the biz knew he was gay.
Yeah, my friend Luther was gay.
But Luther kept it low-key, like a hidden treasure tucked away in a dusty attic. It was like the biggest unkept secret in R&B history. People speculated, but Luther never came out and said it himself. Until, that is, his friend Patti LaBelle spilled the beans 12 years after he passed away. She confirmed it all on a TV show with Andy Cohen in 2017, putting an end to the whispers once and for all. Now, you might wonder why Luther kept it hush-hush for so long. Well, Patti hinted at it in her interview. She said Luther didn't want to upset his mama, even though she probably already knew. And then there were all those lady fans. Luther didn't want to rock the boat and mess with his fan base. It was tough for him, you know? He was stuck between being true to himself and keeping everyone else happy.
Did he struggle with the idea of coming out publicly? Was that something that you talked about at all?
But he wasn't going to come out and say this to the world. And he had a lot of lady fans, and he told me that he just didn't want to upset the world.
But when Patti spilled the tea, not everyone was clapping their hands and shouting hallelujah. Some folks felt like Patti overstepped her bounds. Luther's mom wasn't around anymore to hear it, but it still didn't sit right with some people. You see, Luther wasn't just any old singer. He was a black man singing his heart out in a world where being gay wasn't exactly celebrated with open arms. Back in the day, being both black and gay was like trying to mix oil and water. It just didn't fly. The Griots' Garen Keith Gaynor summed it up pretty well. Luther was a symbol of smooth R&B vibes. And if he came out as gay back in the 80s, it would have been like dropping a bomb in the music world. People weren't ready for that kind of truth bomb, especially in a community where masculinity was prized above all else. Vandross had an eye for talent, too. He discovered Jimmy Salvemini on Star Search and helped him make his own album. Talk about paying it forward. There was this big celebration happening. Jimmy Salvemini, a rising star in music, just finished his first album called Roll It. He teamed up with Vandross, a famous singer, and his brother Larry, who managed Jimmy. They were all excited, so they decided to have some fun. On January 12, 1986, they were cruising around Hollywood Hills in Vandross's fancy Mercedes-Benz. They were going pretty fast, like 50 map in a zone where you're supposed to go 35 map. Suddenly, things took a bad turn. Vandross's car crossed the line into oncoming T and crashed into another car head-on. Larry, who was sitting up front, didn't make it. It's tragic, really. Vandross got banged up pretty bad too, with broken ribs and a busted hip. Jimmy, luckily, survived with cuts and bruises. Now, here's the kicker. Vandross was facing some serious charges because of what happened. They said it was his fault Larry died. But get this, there was no proof he was drunk or high or anything. He ended up pleading no contest to driving recklessly and lost his license for a year. At first, Jimmy's family was on Vandross's side, but then they turned around and sued him for Larry's death. The whole thing ended up getting settled out of court, with Vandross paying Jimmy's family a lot of money. Now, Vandross was dealing with diabetes and high blood pressure. Then, on April 16, 2003, he got hit hard by a big stroke at his place in New York City. He fell into a coma and stayed like that for almost 2 months. The stroke messed up his talking and singing, and he had to use a wheelchair. But with time, he got back on his feet, literally. A year later, at the Grammy Awards in 2004, Vandross popped up on a video to grab his Song of the Year award for Dance with My Father. He said, "When I say goodbye, it's not really goodbye because I believe in love's power." He managed to sing those last 6 words. His mom, Mary, showed up to collect the award for him. His final public moment came on May 6, 2004, when he showed up on the Oprah Winfrey Show. But sadly, Vandross passed away on July 1, 2005, at JFK Medical Center in Edison, New Jersey. He was just 54. It was all because of complications from that bad stroke. They said their goodbyes to Vandross at Riverside Church in New York City on July 8, 2005. Big names like Aretha Franklin, Patti LaBelle, Stevie Wonder, Dionne Warwick, and Cissy Houston showed up to talk and sing at the service. After that, Vandross was laid to rest at George Washington Memorial Park in Paramus, New Jersey. But Luther's legacy lives on, and maybe he found some solace in knowing that his family had his back, even when the world found out his secret. We might never know what was going on in Luther's mind, but one thing's for sure: his music still moves us, no matter who he loved. His music remains timeless, bringing joy and comfort to listeners worldwide. His legacy continues to inspire generations to come.